Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Oh, you know what? That is wrong. I am not listening to the right playlist. There we go. That was, I hope that doesn't get my video flagged. Okay, guys. Hey, it is Wednesday. Good morning, Lucas. Hey, you're here early. You usually don't stop in until a little bit later. Hey, let's go straight to the charts here. All right. Well, here in the Treasury yesterday, you know, you had that early selling, but by the end of the session, they had kind of like recovered it. Now, today, we're seeing a little bit more downside, but we're still at 3.7. So, I don't know. Okay, come over to the S&P 500. You know, down a little bit yesterday, up a little bit overnight. I'd say mostly sideways over there. But oil is just freaking all over the place. Holy crap. I mean, this is that big spike reversed, it collapsed. We're recovering that this morning. Who knows what's going on? I don't know if anybody can make sense of the oil market right now, because they're all just arguing and battling over it like big time. Silver and gold flat for the most part over the past day, and copper a little bit higher. Okay, so that trend in copper is starting to look pretty good again. Bitcoin, this is just so effing suspicious, man. Okay, so Binance gets hit, then Coinbase gets hit, and then they completely reverse the move. Oh, and by the way, the SEC is basically suing to have all Binance US assets halted. Yeah, but the cryptocurrency market bought up on it. I'd be highly suspicious of this one. This could be like money moving around, like people bringing their money out of altcoins to bring it out of the market. So I would be very, very careful reading too much into these kinds of moves that are happening without the news attached to them, because Wells could be doing anything and it could be very easily flip on you, right? And then we got the dollar, a little bit lower this morning, but I'd say still mostly sideways around the 104 area for quite some time here now. So, good morning, Octavius. We come back over here. We here in about 2 minutes get US trade balance. Also, it is Bank of Canada rate decision day today. Oh, so does that mean that we get ECB tomorrow? Hold up. This week, all currencies. Wednesday, Bank of Canada. No, we don't. So when is the ECB? ECB is Thursday. Good morning, Uzi. I don't know. So by the way, I haven't said anything because I don't know why. I'm paranoid, I guess. I don't want anybody to know my plans, but I am going to be out next week. So from starting Friday and then the next week, no stream. I'll still be around. I will still be on Discord and watching things and responding to things on social media and everything. Just, I'm not going to stream next week. So, got my, oh, actually it's right here. Got this controller, I think is busted. Trying to charge it, didn't work. No, I got my Series 3 study materials. So I'm going to be studying that next week instead of streaming. All right, so here we get the numbers. So we got negative 74.6 versus an expected negative 75.8. So not as big of a trade balance deficit as expected. Market doesn't appear to be responding. So a day like today could be a tough trade. Yeah. There is reason, I would think, for people to maybe be moving money in the treasury market. But in which direction, I have no clue. But, you know, if the Bank of Canada is doing stuff that can result in some movement, right? Let's check over here. What are headlines right now? Tucker's back, blah, 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 blah. Turkish lira craters 70%. As state banks retreat from defense. Oh, geez, wow. Hey, Seth. Heart. Hey, Adam. American Bear says, don't fight the Fed. Sure, my scene comment there, but the economic reality is that the Fed will move rates higher at the upcoming meetings. That's not what they're saying. That's not what they're saying, though, Brannigan. It seems to me that the market is expecting that they're not going to move them up at the next meeting. Maybe the meeting after that. Maybe. Let's not say maybe, let's say most likely, but it's only like a slightly most likely. Oh my gosh. Bloomberg Business. As smoke hits New York City and the northeastern US, here's a reminder that the toxic effects of wildfires are impacting communities and families around the world. Listen, from somebody that lives in the western United States, where there's going to be a wildfire somewhere in my state every year, no matter what, climate change or not, don't be such a fucking pussy. Good grief. Oh no, smoke. Wildfire smoke. I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't swear, but come on. Come on. You northeastern people. Yeah, what? Why don't we live in a world where nothing bad ever happens? I love it, Uzi. Listen, folks, I've seen this argument out there, right? Because there's a funny thing that happens online with liberals right now is like they'll have an argument. They'll be like, we should do X thing. And then all of these really smart people come out and they're like, here's why doing X thing is stupid. Okay. And then they'll be like, why don't you have any empathy? Right. So what is happening is that politicians are trying to weaponize your empathy against you, because think about what empathy actually is like what purpose it actually serves in our society, right? Because empathy, like more broadly speaking, is your ability to put yourself in somebody else's situation and see what they're going through and feel the feelings that they might be having. And why is that useful in a society? Because there are situations where you should do something that is against your own interests in benefit of the larger society, right? And that's why empathy exists. So every time that somebody asks you to use empathy, there should be a big red flag going up in your head that says, oh, they're asking me to do something that's against my own interests. right? And if they're asking you to do something that's against your own interests, and when you actually game it all out and you look at the effects of that particular behavior on the larger society, it doesn't actually result in a better off society as a whole, or it doesn't help the community around you, then really they're just asking you to do something stupid. Like, really. And so they're always coming in and you know, telling you about something bad that's happening and somebody that needs help and so on and so forth, in an attempt to use your empathy to modify your voting behavior in a way that is contrary to what would be best for you and your community, probably. Do you know anything about binary options? I was thinking about doing it, but I heard it's a scam. Oh, well, I wouldn't call it. So, okay, so let's be really specific about words. I'm not going to say it's a scam, because you can go, there can be a legitimate exchange out there that is actually doing binary options. There are a lot of scams related to binary options. Like for instance, there was this, the guy that founded Earn to Trade, that whole thing, right? He was involved in a binary options exchange where, like, anytime that somebody was doing good, they would just move the market against them, and that was a complete scam. Okay, but could there be binary options exchanges out there that are completely legitimate? Sure. But is it a good deal for you? I don't think so. Is it an effective trading opportunity? I would say by and large, no, it's not. But, you know, you'll realize with options that options is kind of a spot where a lot of people will try and get you to play in there when it's not really to your advantage, right? Because they can make such easy money from selling you options, right? There's a reason why Citadel is making so much effing money right now, right? Because they're the best options maker in... Yeah, market. I messed up words. I wanted to put some emphasis in there. There's a reason Citadel is making so much effing money right now. It's because they're best in the options market at that one thing, which is the market making, selling the options to you, right? So what does that mean? Yeah, buying options most of the time for a retail trader doesn't work out, right? So futures is really the best way to trade since it is centralized. It depends on what your goals are, but I would say that it is the most fair and transparent. Yes. So if your goal is to be highly involved in the market, come in and trade every day and try to be consistent, then futures is probably your best option. Okay. But there are downsides to, sorry, did I say options? I meant futures. Futures are your best option in that kind of space. But there's downsides to that, right? You have to be way more dedicated to make it with futures. Trading futures is really effing hard. You have to have a huge wad to be able to really hold a position for a long time, right? Most traders are more likely to have success trying to swing trade stocks rather than doing intraday strategies, for instance, right? But if you're swing trading, that might not be in line with your goals, because you don't want to sit and have to worry about a position that you have on for, you know, several days or a week. You might not want to have to do the research on all of the different stocks that are out there and which ones actually are presenting a good opportunity for you, right? You know, there's pluses and minuses to whatever, you know, and what you really need to do is you need to sit down and say, what am I actually looking for, right? So I think one of the problems that we have in the trading sphere is when people go through and they say, okay, well, what are my goals? Well, my primary goal is I hate my job and I don't want to work my job anymore. Okay, well, probably trading's not the way to solve that goal. Okay, because most traders don't have success with it, right? And if you're already kind of hurting, you want like a better job, something like you want better income, like futures is a very difficult way to build income when you don't already have it, right? So probably trading at all is probably not the correct thing to solve that goal, right? Probably the right thing to solve that goal is to go into something to do with computers, right? Learn to code. Okay. But if you've got the money, you have the extra time, you love the markets, and you just want to be involved and engaged, and you want to get as good at this as possible, then futures is the place, right? That's where you're going to learn more than anywhere else. So, you know, I think that the biggest problem that we have in trading is that people have unrealistic expectations and that their trading doesn't actually align with their goals. Wow, U.S. family offices lead pay ranks with 1 million CIO salaries. I want to be chief investment officer at a family office. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think I'm a little bit too behind on that one. Why do they market Forex so much as compared to futures? So I don't know if that's the case anymore. Maybe it is outside of the United States. In the United States, I don't hear about Forex very much anymore. The largest Forex broker got kicked out, so I don't hear about Forex very often. But Forex kind of has some things that, okay, so the thing is, so let me go back. No short trade. I probably should be short here, huh? Look, it's going. I think that I would be biased to the long side, but I don't really have a strong opinion about if we're going to move up or down today. But biased to the short side because, largely speaking, I think interest rates are going to continue to be a little bit of an issue, but I'm a little, I don't know, because like think about the way that it turned out yesterday, right? It was a pretty strong move, and then like maybe it was recovering, and then like complete stop run to the downside, but then after that it was all up, right? Okay, anyways, so going back to Forex, if you know, there have been times when Forex was marketed really hard, right? And it's not because it's a good trading opportunity, it's because it's a good opportunity for the broker to make money. And the thing is with futures is that futures has a lot of restrictions on them, right? Like I've had many discussions with like brokers and guys like that, because you know, there's some of these guys running independent futures brokers that are, you know, they're really running a tight business. I think that they really know their stuff. They're really doing a good job at it, but they don't really get rewarded for it because the futures introducing broker space is just so competitive and tight. Like the commissions that you're making aren't very good, you know? And so how do you set yourself apart as a introducing futures broker? Because basically all you can do is you can say, here's the platforms that we give you access to, and here's our commissions, and here is our support. That's it. That's like all they can offer, right? And I'm always saying like, well, you know, it would help if you could give your, you know, if going to that broker gave you access to other resources like a news squawk or research or things like that, right? They're not allowed to do that stuff. right? So the CFTC is super tight, right? Forex, it's like no rules. Like they introduced rules after the Forex became a thing, but it's like it's no rules, and like there's a reason why all of the Forex brokers in the United States basically got kicked out, right? Because you can come in and basically trade against your the way that Forex works is basically they trade against you, right? You're trading with the brokerage, trading their bid offer. So basically they get to be market maker for every transaction that happens, right? And then they balance things back out by doing transactions with the banks, right? So for the Forex broker, like that's a great deal, and there aren't as many restrictions on it, and so you can market it super hard to people, right? I think the thing that you will find with trading, okay, what messes people up with trading so much is that we are social learners. So like when we come in and we want to find a way of doing something, right? Like I want to have a beautiful garden, okay? How am I going to go and find somebody that has a beautiful garden, or an educator that will help me build a beautiful garden, right? Well, what are some of the things that I would look for is signifiers that they're actually knowledgeable on what they're talking about. Well, one would be if they're an influencer, they have a really large following, for instance, right? So I could go out and find the largest gardening channel. I could go out and look for on their channel who has the garden that I like the best, that looks the best to me, right? And these are all kind of what we call social proof, right? So because we're social learners, what we want to do is we want to see somebody else doing it and seeing that other person is being successful with it, and then we use that social proof as a sign that they know what they're doing, and so then we learn from them and we follow that particular person, right? Well, in markets that doesn't work, because if you go in and you have the largest, most successful YouTube channel on this subject, that just means that everything that you're teaching them, that just means that everything that they're teaching is known by the market and is probably already arbitraged out of the market. So you can't go to the most popular person, right? You would want to go and see, okay, who's made the most with this? Well, there's some really big issues with that, because number one, the person that's probably made the most from futures trading, probably because they're doing something like really risky and something that they really shouldn't. And by following what they do, you're probably just going to blow out eventually, right? Extraordinary performance is more likely to be lucky, in other words. Okay. And then on the other side is like how much money you have to work with, is very dependent on where you start out from. Right? I mean, people want to think about compounding growth and everything, but it really tends not to work out like that. Like you can only size up so large, and it's a tough grind anyways. So you're not doubling your money every month. You're maybe making 20% per year, and that would be amazing, right? So looking for who has the biggest account or who's placing the biggest trades doesn't help you, right? And so, but people don't realize that, it's completely counter to everything that we know as humans. And so that's why the vast majority of retail traders never come into information that's actually good information, right? Okay, so I missed a couple of things while I was going on that huge long rant. Okay, do we care about the Bank of Canada announcement? We definitely do. So at least last time around, the Bank of Canada decision actually was a fairly significant market mover. I've seen it where they just completely ignore it, but I've seen times where the market moves quite a bit on the Bank of Canada decision. But I think that for right now, what it kind of does is it puts me in the I don't know if there's really a lot of reason for me to see an imbalance. I think that there's probably going to be a reasonable amount of business done, but I mean, looking at the last 30 minutes, first 30 minutes of the stream, you know, I'd say that activity is lower today than it's been in the past 2 weeks. I think this is the lowest activity we've seen in 2 weeks. So that doesn't make me particularly excited to take any kind of trade, right? It's okay. We're waiting for Patrick to use 15 contracts on all 3 accounts every time. I'm telling you, the people that it seems like they're making the most money, what they're doing is they're just being the most reckless, right? Once I became profitable in binary, the site caused a delay for my trades and I had to take my money and run away. Like one of the things that you got to realize for trading, okay? Like, who does trading actually exist for? Think about that. Who does trading actually exist for? Does trading exist for you so that you can make some money scalping and become a millionaire? No, of course not. Listen, they don't create all of these big exchanges and all of this crazy stuff for you. No, yeah, it's for banks. It's for large institutions. It's a vehicle through which large institutions and players can make large transactions. That's what it's all about. That's why the market exists, is to have an easy way to be able to transact in securities and to be able to do so at large volumes. So in order to do that, right, you end up with this ecosystem. You have the people that the system is actually for, which are the people that are informed, that actually know what's going on and where prices are going to go and are trading something, right? And then there's the market makers who provide the liquidity. Now, you have to have some sort of an incentive for those people. Otherwise, nobody would provide liquidity and it wouldn't work, okay? So you have the spread. So the market makers can make money off of the spread if they're doing things right, and mathematically speaking, that would work, okay? Unfortunately, we don't really have access to the spread because it's just, we're not competitive. They have robots that do it, right? Okay. How can both of those two people make money? Well, there has to be a bunch of noise for them to work around in, right? Has to be a noise for that market maker to have enough randomness in the price so that they can actually make money from the spread. And there needs to be that randomness out there so that an informed trader can transact in the market without tipping off the whole market to the information that they have, right? So yes, you know, when you come into these more shady markets like Bitcoin, especially for CFDs, contracts for difference, yeah, they have every incentive to screw you over as a retail trader. And that's why, you know, I think that stocks and futures, I guess the options you can do it too, but I don't think that you would like scalp options per se, because spreads on options for scalping are just too wide. But yeah, you gotta be careful. I'm not gonna come in and take a trade unless I really think I know something, right? Because the market is kind of structured against you, right? I think when I come in and I tell people these things, like, yeah, the market is kind of structured against you, most retail traders lose, etc., etc. It's not there. I'm not saying that stuff to discourage you, but what I'm trying to say is that the immensity of the challenge that faces you requires different methods to overcome it, right? And the way that we overcome that is by being selective, by being the sniper, only taking a trade when we really know something, because we don't have access to the spread. If I was fast, if I was a robot, then I would probably do more market making stuff. or if I had a market where I thought that I was the fastest, I would probably do more market making stuff. Do you think that ZN's going to turn up, D? It was kind of going up there a little bit. But you know what? I'm not really seeing the volume coming into this, man. The 6J has been kind of tilted slightly to the downside, and I think that's why we've been moving down. But I don't know, we kind of saw some weird stuff with that yesterday too, right? Where the 6J and the ZN kind of diverged a little bit, so I'm still in holding mode. I don't know if I'll actually end up taking a trade. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the thing is that if we're going to go up, I think I'm probably less likely to take a trade, huh? Because I can say, well, we're probably heading towards 4%. The economy still seems to be growing and inflation may continue to be an issue, right? It's because like the way that I see the market right now is slight bias to the downside, but then when you get a piece of news that suggests anything dovish, you get a really strong up move, right? That's kind of so if I don't have news like that, why would I go long? Well, there could be all sorts of reasons why it buys, but I don't know what they are. At least I don't know what they are today. So I will sit on my hands. At the same time, when I see it hovering down there at the lows and everything, it just makes me want to get in long, wants me to go short treasuries, long rates. So let me clarify something. Are you saying it is much harder to make money on futures than Forex? No. I'm saying it's difficult to make money in trading in general. Is it harder to make money on futures than on Forex? I think that in Forex you can get lucky. It's probably easier to get lucky in Forex than it is to get lucky in futures. I could put it that way, right? But in terms of skill, there's more opportunity for you to be successful with skill in futures than there is Forex, right? Because think about it, right? So again, if we're like the informed traders, right? I can be informed on what are the sorts of strategies out there that CTAs use and why might people be hedging or buying this instrument today. And what do the flows tend to be? I can study that history and I can be aware of the economic news and the breaking headlines and the sentiment and all of that to get some idea about what direction the flows are likely to be. How do you do that in Forex, right? Because you're talking about bank what matters in Forex, like what transactions banks are making, where do banks have to move money from? Maybe there's some way to sort that stuff out and kind of learn and predict that stuff, but I don't know it. I've never seen any information on that sort of a thing. So that's beyond me. And there's like headlines. Well, over here, I can hear it on the news squawk and I can at least know what that impulse was and that, oh yeah, it's probably going to continue. And so, even though it's been 5 seconds, I can probably get in and there'll be a lot to run, right? In Forex, on the other hand, by the time the news actually gets to you, it's like it's already moved because insiders can do whatever they want. And this is all like international entry kind of stuff, right? So it's really, really hard to be the informed trader in the Forex market. But you can have a position on in Forex and just get these absolutely insane moves from a currency. So you can get lucky in Forex for sure. But another approach to this is I think that the United States has pretty good protections. I think that in some instances it should be even more strict But generally speaking, the United States is pretty good at protecting investors and traders from shady stuff, right? So if it's not allowed in the United States, I would be really hesitant to trade it. You know, like they got all these guys in the UK. Yeah, you can trade Forex with Forex brokers that aren't available in the United States. You can trade contract for difference, which are not available in the United States. Well, there's a reason those aren't available in the United States, and this may be a good reason for you not to trade them, even if they're available in your country. In order for me to give you real advice on like what would be the best style of trading for you, I would have to know a lot more about you, right? I have to know what your goals are, what your abilities are, what you're good at, things like that, right? Well, let's let it play out. I'm not sure I see why you're getting excited, D. Okay, I really like scalping and I want to make 6 figures in a few months. Okay, so if you want to make 6 figures in a few months, then what you got to do is YOLO on options. And hope you get lucky. That's how you do that one. If you really like scalping and you want to be involved in the market, though, then go to futures. You're saying that they're gonna have to cover, but like we've only had 10,000 net change in cumulative delta since in the last hour, let's say. Like the volume is just super light. So are there really that many people out there? Are there really that many traders out there that are going to have to cover or do something? Okay, what will you do if your channel becomes really popular and your strategy gets arbitraged out? Is a good question. Is a question I ask myself every day, Frick. If the stream itself became too popular, then what I would do is I would switch the stream over to like a member only stream, right? So like I think I would like to keep it to where the stream is between 50 and 100 people at any given time, right? If it started to get bigger than that, then maybe I would switch it over and you'd have to pay like $1 a month to get in or something like that. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen. I mean, we've had points where we were at 50, for days, for a long period of time that we were at 50, and then YouTube kind of like changed things, right? So I don't think that our stream is going to get that popular unless there's another algorithm change, which I suppose if we're around long enough, maybe that'll happen. The YouTube channel itself, if the YouTube channel itself becomes popular, that's not necessarily going to arbitrage the strategy away, right? The things that I'm teaching you on the YouTube channel are things that are structural about the market, right? So there's competition for those things, right? So it might be hard as a retail trader to make money just off of those things, but those things are always still going to be useful. Those kind of become your base, right? And what is the real edge? The real edge is the things that we know that are relevant to today that could tell us what the future flows might be, right? So the larger YouTube channel becoming popular does not necessarily ruin our edge, right? Too many people on the stream and Seth being a little bit too open about what he knows that might cause it to buy or sell, that might hurt our edge a little bit, right? Another thing, though, is that I have learned to be more selective about my trading because of the stream. Because I have had situations where I do believe that if I wasn't running the stream, that trade would have been profitable, sort of thing. I think that's happened. And the situations where it seems like we're most vulnerable to that is when, you know, there's really nothing going on and the market's being kind of random and the market maker's in charge, right? So if we limit our trading to only when we really know something and that something is really going to move a lot of orders, right? Then that provides us a lot of room to find edge in it, and enough room that, you know, a whole room can take advantage of it. Well, there's been, on those last 3 upticks, quite a bit more of a change in cumulative delta than any of the other moves we've seen this morning. Now, another thing that I could do is if we get too popular, is we could stop streaming and just do managed futures. Yeah, so when you come over here, just those last 3 upticks, you know, it's not much, but it's one of the larger trends we've had this morning. Okay, any good texts that teach you to trade via order flow? Well, so the texts that I would recommend don't necessarily teach you to trade. What they do is they teach you the market. They show you what the market is actually like, and it's up to you to use that information to incorporate it into your trading. So they don't give you trades or anything like that, okay? But the best text source of information I've ever found is this. I always keep it over here because people ask about it. Trades, Quotes and Prices, Financial Markets Under the Microscope by Jean-Philippe Bouchot, Julius Menard, Johnny Donier, and Martin Gould. So this book basically summarizes 30 years of market microstructure research. Once you've read this book, you can go to the quantitative finance section of archive.org under trading in market microstructure, and you'll actually understand the research papers that people are posting there. And yeah, you can then take that research, maybe extend it a step further, and build a strategy out of those, right? Okay. Then what I did was I took all of that information and I applied it to what we're doing here in futures, and I wrote the order flow playlist that we have here on this channel. And then there's also, if you go to speculatorseth.com/strategy and put your email in, and it will email you a PDF. And that is where I summarize all of this information and explain to you how that applies to your trading. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. So order flow is the main factor that moves price. Okay, so the way that I would explain it is that orders move prices, right? And there are some stylized behaviors with the market about how that kind of happens, right? So for instance, large meta orders are a major factor in the markets. And so when you see somebody executing a large meta order, you know, right now, the chances of them still executing it in an hour are relatively high, right? So that's something that you can kind of use to your advantage. If you can predict that there's a meta order out there and that there's still more of it left, then you can front run that and ride that. And that's mostly what we're trying to do, right? But there's also a square root law, which is to say, like, if I dump 10,000 contracts into the market, it might move, well, in this situation, it might move like 5 ticks. So if I put 20,000 contracts into the market, will that mean that it moves 10 ticks? No, it doesn't. It moves more like 7 because of the square root law. This is another stylized behavior of the market. And that kind of gets to the point where, you know, when you have enough volume going into the market, it actually makes it harder for price to move, right? That's something you can take advantage of. What is a meta? Oh, yeah, sorry. So a meta order is an order that is so large that it can't be executed all at once. So they split it up and execute it over a long period of time, right? So it might take him all day to execute 100,000 contracts, but they can all kind of be considered a part of the same meta order, right? It's all these smaller orders combined to make a bigger one, right? You could also think of all of the people trading off of the same piece of information or breaking news or something like that. You could also consider that a meta order, right? And so some of the best stylized behaviors of order flow that we've found based on our modeling appear to be the result of meta orders in the markets, or to be more specific, the autocorrelation of order sign, which is to say, if I see a buy right now, I'm 0.5% more likely to see a buy in an hour if I just look at any one random single order, right? When you come over here and you look at the treasuries and you're looking at cumulative delta, you're almost always going to see some sort of a trend, right? Because it's the meta orders. They're there and they take a long time to execute. Okay? So once they kind of figured out that, you know, meta orders was the reason for that autocorrelation, that kind of opened up a lot of the research, and that's how they were able to figure out like optimal execution and things like that. I would miss your rants if you stopped your stream. Yeah. Well, I suppose in that situation, I would probably still make shorts. You know, one of the things that drives me crazy is that, like, I feel like that the kind of the philosophical political rants are one of the things that I enjoy the most, but like TikTok never seems to care about that stuff. So it's, well, listen, whatever you hear from Vinny, I would just ignore. I don't consider him very what is the word, knowledgeable. But could you consider it an algorithm? Well, yeah. I mean, listen, when you have 1,000 lots to buy, right? How do you do that? Well, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, right? And every large player kind of does it a little bit differently, right? So I don't think that it would be accurate to say that it's an algorithm. It's an order. It's a large order that's going to cause a persistent imbalance in the order flow, right? You don't necessarily need to know all of the exact specifics of the algorithm to take advantage of the meta order. But there are optimal execution algorithms, and those optimal execution algorithms can help you. So specifically, I'll explain to you how this works. Okay, so the big, it used to be that you would use VWAP or TWAP, okay, which is to say you're buying on a set interval, but if price goes below the volume weighted average price since you've started executing, then you can execute more because you're getting a better than average price, right? For a long time, that's what people did. Like in the 70s, that's what people did. And what they kind of found over time was that it wasn't working very well. And the locals even started to take advantage of it, where they were like, oh, well, we know that if we're below the VWAP, that the funds that are doing VWAP buying are going to be buying it. And so we can move it against them really easily. And it started screwing up their trading. Okay. So then in 2000, Almgren Chris came out with this really important study called the optimal execution of large portfolio transactions. And in that paper, basically what they showed was that if you split your execution into legs to minimize your impact on the order book, that minimizing your impact on the order book, you know, even though like your execution, like in terms of what price am I executing at and what is the timing of my orders, and all of that is random. All of that is random, but it is timed in a way to reduce the impact on the order book. That actually resulted in a better execution. Okay. So what they did was they did this sort of a thing, is there's a bunch of factors that you put in, and then it says, okay, here's how much you should trade. And usually, so if I say I am risk adverse and I don't have any bias in terms of which way the market is going to go, then the graph of how you should execute looks something like this, right? So I'm going to execute half of it at the beginning, and then the next one I'm going to do half of that, and then half of that, and then maybe by that point it's enough that I can just execute the rest of it, right? You do it in legs. And this is why in a trending market you see this, right? Large meta order. Just before it starts to have too much of an impact on the order book, they scale back how many orders they're executing, right? And then later they might do a second leg, and this second leg is probably going to be half as many contracts as this first leg, right? Now, if I think that there's a trend, or let's not do the case where I think there's going to be a trend, but a case where I am not risk adverse, that I want to maximize the amount of money that I'm going to do, then you could do the exact opposite. You do a little bit here, and then twice as much here, and then take this huge gulp all at once at the end, right? So when you're watching the market, you can actually see those things play out. So if it seems like, you know, it's really, really sneaky, super sneaky, and then all of a sudden huge move, and then after that it just goes dead and it doesn't do anything the rest of the day, that's this right here, right? That's Almgren Chris when they're willing to take on risk, which tells you a little something about maybe who might be executing it, right? That's probably not a index fund. That's probably a hedge fund that thinks they know something and is, you know, trying to get as much out of it as they can, trying to make as much money from it as they can. Okay. So how do we utilize this in our trading? So number one is we want to watch the order flow, and we can kind of use that information and the aggressiveness of it to kind of help filter our theories to try and understand what might be moving the market. But from a more practical perspective, it means that there are times when you're going to see strong aggressive order flow, and there are times when you're going to see very, very passive order flow and things are just going to go sideways, right? And what determines those things? It's the state of the order book. So if I come in here right now, we've got 1357 by 1357. That's pretty decent liquidity. And then we tick up, look, there's 1,000. Okay. So that says to me that the market makers are pretty healthy right now. The market makers are willing to put liquidity up. They're willing to get fills, you know, because this hasn't been too active of a market. They haven't taken on too much inventory yet, right? But if we get a strong trend, it moves up and moves up. Eventually you're going to get to this point where there's like a ton of volume trades in the spot, and then after it trades in the spot, they're only willing to put up like 200 contracts at a time, and it'll go back and forth, and it'll just stay at that price for like 5, 10, 30, 40 minutes, you know, and relatively low liquidity. Of course, you have to look at it every tick, but you know, that situation where there's like only 200 contracts on there, you'll see that more often. And that's that situation that the market, where the market maker, or sorry, the person executing the meta order, he doesn't want that to happen, you know, so he's scaling back. and that's why it just goes sideways, right? So if I just got a strong impulse like that, is it really a good time for me to jump in? No, because it's going to do this, right? And then if I think there's going to be a second leg, I just got to realize that that second leg is probably not going to be as good as the first one, unless it's like a really crazy market, right? And by the way, this takes about 45 minutes, at least in the treasury market. This takes about 45 minutes, right? So if I just saw this happen and I think there's going to be a second leg, let's give it 45 minutes. Now you know when to time it, when the meta orders might actually come in, right? And that's how you kind of use that information. Okay. Now when these other guys come in and tell you, oh, if you have this oscillator on your chart, then you have this moving average on your chart, and when this condition and this condition is set, then you go and you buy it. They're full of shit. That stuff like just doesn't work. The market is very statistically efficient, right? Because the whole point, like the reason all of those optimal execution strategies and stuff work is and why they're important to large players is because orders have a really strong impact on price. Orders have a very strong impact on price. And that means that if there is a pattern like that, you start trading it and it moves the market. It moves the market, and then that trade's not there anymore, essentially, right? So trying to trade off of a quote unquote pattern per se doesn't really work. That's why it's same thing. Like, so I did show you kind of some patterns of like, this is what the chart will do is it'll go up and then it goes sideways and then it'll go up again. And this second leg is maybe not quite as much, right? And you kind of get this curve, right? Okay. Well, so if I see this first leg and then it's going like this, does that mean that there's going to be a second leg? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There's absolutely nothing about this that predicts this. If I know how large the meta order is, then I know that this is going to come in. But the pattern is the result. Pattern is only the result, and it does not predict anything. Right? So be very, very skeptical of anybody that's telling you to trade off of price pattern signals. So what you're saying is prices are random. So prices are martingales, but I don't 100% still to this day don't completely understand the statistical concept of a martingale. But there is a lot of randomness in price. Yes. I mean, so the thing is, I don't think that you can say prices are random per se. Like from the purest definition of the word, I would say prices are not random, because there are behaviors that we see in markets that would not be exhibited in a purely random walk, right? For instance, the best known examples of these are like the stylized behaviors of volatility, right? That when you have an increase in volatility, it tends to continue to be volatile, and then it eventually dies down. That it goes like this. You'll have like the VIX tends to go like this: big spike and then slow and then big spike, right? That wouldn't happen in a random market, right? So we can't say that prices are random per se. Okay, but the market is statistically efficient, right? You go in, you go in and you look for some sort of a pattern in the movement of the price, and say, okay, when you see this, does it go up or does it go down? Well, it goes up 60% of the time or down. If you get a large enough data sample, you're going to find that there's no edge in it. That the market is very statistically efficient. So not random, but statistically efficient. Okay. And kind of the thing that this is where it kind of gets like super deep. Okay. So this might not be very useful, but like, okay, there's all of these patterns and the market is statistically efficient. It's impossible for the market to be statistically efficient against all strategies all the time. Okay. So what it does instead is it switches, right? So you will have one time period where strategy A works really, really well. And then you'll have one period where strategy A doesn't really work and strategy B works really, really well. And it's random. And I think, frankly, a lot of it probably has to do with how popular certain strategy is at the time, right? That's why it's very common to see a retail trader out there that says, oh, I've been trading for a year, 2 years, and it seems like I've made a ton of money, right? Well, they just happened to catch the time period where the market wasn't really paying attention to that strategy. And then as soon as they start to say something and everybody on Reddit tries to follow it, it'll just get crushed, right? But that's why I say you have to have a large enough data sample, because there you might have in a period of 1 to 2 years, you might appear to have an edge, and it's actually you being fooled by randomness because you don't have a large enough sample, right? And so then the question would be, okay, so can I predict which strategy the market is going to work in that market and which one is not? And the answer is probably not. The answer is probably not, that a lot of it is just random. And that you're going to go in and you're going to say, okay, here's my strategy. Let's add some filters for when that strategy is going to be effective in the market and when it's not. And you're going to find that that's really, really hard. Over a large enough sample, that's really, really hard to sort out. Basically, if you had 1 billion candles worth of data and sorted them into up candles and down candles, it'll be nearly 50-50. I'm not sure about that. Depending on the asset, it might not be 50-50. Like if you did that on the S&P 500, and if you took every 1 minute candle on the S&P 500 ever, I don't think that it would be 50-50. Try it. Oh man, okay. Sure. Wait. What time is it? 7? Yeah, I think we have enough time. Let's try it. Because of course I don't know for sure. I'm skeptical though. Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. So the way that I'm gonna do this, I think, is stats. Okay, so I'm gonna make a new indicator called candle balance. Candle sign stats. And this is going to be derived from stats. And then over here, I will override this on state change. Sign. I don't think that I need any of this stuff. Just adding one stat. Test sign. I don't think that I need a non-bar update. Test sign. if close of 0 is greater than close open of 0, then return true. So this is one where there could be equal, right? You know how to create an alert system that sends you a price or strategy signals even when the platform is off? Well, so if you have like trading view, you could set up a bunch of indicators in a strategy and tell it to send you a text message when those get triggered. I think that to do some of those things, you might be you might need to have their pro. I think randomness is a pattern in algorithms. Well, the algorithms inject randomness into the market. Yes, they do. This is why, one of the reasons why, you know, it's so much more useful to watch the orders, right? Because the randomness gets added into the orders, right? But you will still see, you know, the tell in the orders. Right now, I don't know if that's happening. Right now, I don't know if there's actually any kind of, well, there was a bit of selling there off of the open for some reason in the treasuries, but overall, this market has been pretty slow and random. So there's going to be a little bit of an imbalance in our stat, because opens are going to be positive, but equal is going to be false. Let's see if it compiles. I haven't messed with my stats suite for a while, so hey, it totally did. This is going to be great if I put it on the chart and it works the first time. That'll be amazing. Okay, so we're going to do ES. So let's start small. 2 days ES. Python script and training view is not very good. I think it gets the job done. The issue that I have with trading view is that I feel like that they don't give you as much information for you to be able to realize that like what you're doing is dumb. That you're screwed, you know, it doesn't give you as much information to realize that your back test is being screwed up by something. You know, I mean, I think that that's kind of a problem no matter what language you're working in, but in NinjaTrader, like you start going into it, it's like it becomes really obvious really quickly. Oh, so I've already detected a problem in here. Candle sign. I don't know if PineScript gives you access to level 2, to be honest with you. But, you know, you could set something up in NinjaTrader that will make an alert of some sort when your condition is hit. But if you want that to run when you're like not home, then you would need to do something where like it's running on your computer all the time and it uses an API to send you a text message or something like that, right? Okay. Okay, so it's doing something. adding that plot. Oh, what is the default bit about? Oh, I see. Oh. Calculate every bar needs to be true, I think, for this one. True. Problem is, I wish there was a platform system. Wow. That's the thing, is that something's running it, right? It's running in the cloud. I think there are some services that will do that, but you know, there's going to be limitations. Like, that's where I'm saying TradingView can do that, but I don't think that TradingView can do that with level 2, for instance. It's still wrong. What's going on here? Oh, when I do that, by the way, where's my... Should make a few changes here to the stats, maybe. So that this sprint thing. Oh. Shouldn't call it break OV. Handle sign. Calculate every bar is true. Candle sign is, I changed that. So that should give me candle sign, yeah. But it seems to only be running it like once or twice for some reason. There has been some volatility here now in the treasuries, but not in a clear direction nor with volume. But we got about 20 minutes. Let's see if this test is actually running every bar. The price in Delta and ZN, yeah, it really is. But I mean, it's moving for whatever reason. Okay, that is really, really interesting. So when I did that, it is not running every bar. Oh, that does not make any sense. Oh, is there maybe a setting in here? Hmm. It's funny because it is doing something and it is calculating it, but it is not. I don't know. That's a little weird. I'm missing a component somewhere. Maybe if I just call it signed, but that shouldn't change anything. My stats is there. Wow. Now back up. This is just a bunch of movement for movement's sake. With a six pack. What are you talking about, AN? It might have something to do with like the day. But I have it set to run on every bar. It wants to see if it's the last bar of the session. If it's not, Oh. If not calculate every bar. So calculate every bar should be true. It should skip this. I don't know what the flag thing is about. What's the flag? Have you reached 6 figures yet? What do you mean? Like my trading account? No. My net worth, maybe? Like net worth excluding my house, maybe. I haven't looked at it in a while. Okay, so flag is false. If flag is false, that should be true. Flag equals test. It's the method. Okay. So if it's true, then it'll be flag. It's true. And count plus plus. Value 0 equals probability. And then there's this reset. Where does this reset come from? I may have just had this written in a way that doesn't work for an, you know, a straight bar. You know what I mean? That's what it is. S dot value dot reset. Well, the treasuries are making it almost all the way up to the higher end of the range. There are some signs that there are some meta orders long in here. There we go. Okay. So. That took me way too long to figure that out, but that's okay. Yeah, cool. Delete that. Yeah, what I'm doing is a little funky because I've created something that allows you to add a bunch of stats together and it will run them all together. kind of like a worker. It's basically like a queue. Is you come in and you say, okay, I want to test this stat, this stat, this stat, and this stat. But there was something about it. I made my stats to be more on a daily basis sort of a thing, and not on an individual bar. And so that's why I was having some issues. Okay, so if I do this, okay, yes, then it does this on a daily basis. Okay, so we can close that. And we can come back now and we can say on the data series, we're going to do 5-minute bars and we're going to add 2,000 days. No, a 6-pack of beer. No, this is not my full-time job. I am a site reliability engineer for a Medicare exchange. It's my day job. Well, so when I do that over the last 2,000 days. Right, how far back is that? So going back to 2017. Going back to 2017, most bars are actually sell. Oh, that is really interesting. Because remember, if it's not an up bar, then it's a sell bar. Oh, actually, so yeah, that would make sense. So maybe if we had changed it so that it doesn't count it. Actually, now I know how to do that. So let me come back. So what I can do here is stats here and just copy. This instead of using the default. And then when I add this, I'll say sign count. Oh, catch you later, D. Hope you made money off of that. Probably you did. Oops. I'm gonna do it this way, even though it's kind of maybe like not the way that you should do it. Return true. Okay. I prefer to have a positive identification, but there's only 2 options here, so should be fine. Hey, Jermax, I haven't seen you in a while. What are you up to? Got 5 minutes to the Bank of Canada here, right? I wonder if all of this movement is them jostling around for that or not, because it is a little... Oh, you're right. Okay, so So about 5% of 5-minute bars are dojis. Oh, you're learning NinjaTrader? That's interesting. Nope, you're right, Uzi. I bet you though that if we change the time frame that I can get that to be different. Like if it was on a daily basis, I'm gonna bet you that there are more up days than there are down days. Well, why would you move away from TT? Let's see what it does on 30-minute bars. Okay, so when you go to 30-minute bars, there's a 1% higher chance that it will be a long 30-minute bar. So when we are to say, when it comes to the sign of an individual bar, that is to say whether a bar was an up bar or a down bar, the market is very statistically efficient. It's true. Cost, yeah, TT is a lot. The reason why I was like, I'm not so sure is because some instruments do have a tendency to move up more than down and vice versa. You know, equities have more of a tendency to move up than to move down. But it looks like that when you get down to a short enough time frame that the sign of the bars is still pretty equal. Yeah, and distance moved isn't the same as up or down. That's true too. Go to the daily. So I don't know. This might be interesting. The daily might break it. Oh, no, not quite actually. But on the daily, it's not loading as much data here. 2000. In NinjaTrader on TickStream, the time and cells, what does the F does AAC mean? What do you mean by TickStream? Okay, there you go. See, 53%. I thought it would be more like 55, maybe even 60. But 53. And that's going back to 2018, 2017. So I don't know what you mean by TickStream. How do you open up? Is this something that comes with NinjaTrader? How do you open it? Yeah, which window is that in? How do you open the window? Are you talking about from in here in the TNS? Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't used the web version. Because I don't use NinjaTrader brokerage. Are you talking about? It sounds like you're talking about the TNS. Oh, it opened up over here. Are you talking about this thing? Yeah, it would be like the trade of 8 times in sales. Okay, and so the question was, what the F does ACC mean? Is that like a column that you can add on here? Properties. Okay, here's the right Bank of Canada. It's a hike. Whoa. It sounds like that people were not expecting the Bank of Canada to hike. Should have traded that, maybe. I totally discounted this. There's a big transaction there, 17.5. I'm just gonna move this to the side for a second so we can see our micros. Screenshot it. Okay. I'm gonna bet that the ACC stands for accounts, but well, I knew it was gonna drop. So when you look at the market here, I see signs of both large sellers and large buyers in the market. I wouldn't say that it was like a strong, it was a relatively quiet session, but you know, starting from 6 there was a bit of selling, and then around the top of the hour and then around the equity market open, there was a couple of periods where there was somebody coming in and buying, and there was a few legs of buying. So, you know, whoever it was that was selling from the earlier, maybe they did know. That is totally a possibility. I don't think that, given the information that we had at the time, that it really would have made sense for us to have predicted that that was going to happen. Now the question is, now that it has happened, what can we make from it? Can we come in and take a trade and go for higher rates? I think we might be able to. So let's just keep an eye on this. It might retrace. Yeah, which is why you didn't trade it. Yeah. So the thing that I'm wondering here is, so if this was a Federal Reserve meeting, if we came into next Wednesday, if tomorrow was the Federal Reserve meeting and they came in and they said hike, then I would be really shocked, right? Because the Federal Reserve always tries to give people a heads up. Like, remember, there was that one time where we had some inflation data just before the Fed meeting that really suggested that they needed to hike. And then we got a story from the Wall Street Journal basically saying that, like, actually, you know, even though the market says that they're not going to hike, but actually they are going to hike. And then it just, like, it moved like insane before the meeting. It was like they don't want to be in the spot where they hike and the market expects them not to hike. That's the Federal Reserve, though, not the Bank of Canada, you know? So now for us in the treasuries, I have to sit down and say, does this increase the chances of the Federal Reserve doing an interest rate hike? It might. It might. So it's not such a clear situation and such a clear volume that I think I could just pick anywhere. But they might give us a sell. Oi, look at that. I have not seen volume go off like that in the micros before. That was a little wild. The 30-year like really dropped there apparently. Because I was sitting there like what, 7.5? Like look, it went up 10 ticks, ran away. They're playing with us. I don't trust those quotes. So I put an order in on the bid and then canceled it. And when I canceled my order, all the others in the queue canceled. Anyways, to Jeremax's question, and I didn't see a picture. If you post a link, we won't see it, right? You have to you have to obfuscate it so that YouTube doesn't recognize it as a URL. But this time in sales only shows you matches, and so it's not really very useful in the way that like the jigsaw reconstructed tape is. So I feel like this component is kind of useless. Okay. Maybe some profit taking there. I don't know. So the question remains, how big of a shock is it when the Bank of Canada surprises? Okay, Chris Christie launches presidential campaign, hammers Trump by name. Ouch, down. I have a hard time thinking all that big, yeah. Well, apparently the bills are moving. So the Canadian markets are saying that the Bank of Canada will do it again in July at the next meeting. Okay, so here's Chris Christie's campaign launch quote. The person I am talking about, who is obsessed with the mirror, who never admits a mistake, who never admits a fault, who always finds someone else and something else to blame for whatever goes wrong, but finds every reason to take credit for what goes right, is Donald Trump. I don't feel like that's the most effective attack, but okay. Oh, I'm sure that Trump is going to go after Christie for sure. See the ACC tab? No, I don't. Did you post the link? We don't see the link. You have to put like spaces or like remove the periods and put spaces there so that we can see the link, because YouTube hides it and it doesn't show you that you hide it. It shadow hides it. I gotcha. Is it, what's the file type? The GIF? Oops, why is it not doing that? A. What's A? No, 404. The image you're requesting does not exist or is no longer available. Is every GOP? Okay, so here's something that I don't get, okay? Everybody's calling this a crowded field. No, it's not. Like, we had like 20 guys ran last time. You remember that? Like, remember when it was so big that they had to have a second debate, right? Like, there was the main people debate, and then there was the other group of people debate. Nope, I didn't see that one. I messed around with it. I placed some orders and canceled them and then didn't go. Now it's going without me. If it's on Imgur, just give me the part that's after the slash. Imgur.com/ and then what? Or post it on Discord. So anyways, when you look at the field right now and you look at people polling over 1%, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 guys, that's average. 7 to 9. That's average. Chris Christie will probably make it into the debate. You have to be over 1%. Well, shoot, now what do I do? I goofed that up. I mean, I did want to take a trade. I'm not going to say that like I really, really strongly wanted to take a trade. I was like being really cautious about the price. And I was trying to, I was hoping that it was going to give me 7.2 again. The way that it's acting though has me a little bit suspicious. Oh, I see. Price, size, ACC. I think that ACC is something that doesn't apply in all markets. Like, it might be one of those things where, like, if it's stocks, it will show you which prime broker it is. Something like that. Yeah, and it brings up numbers larger than the trade itself. Oh, really? I don't know. Have you tried searching the Tradeovate documentation? DeSantis would have been better off starting out his slugfest and waited for the next election. Oh, maybe it's staying out of this slugfest? I don't know about that. I disagree with that. So, the thing is, like, when is the appropriate time for you to run as president, right? Because there's kind of this hot hand kind of tendency to it, right? So there's a lot of people that, if you noticed, all of the guys that like Huckabee, for instance, right? He ran. How come he didn't run in 2016 or 2020, for instance, right? Well, he wasn't the hot hand. And then there's this other situation where it's like, you know that you're not going to win because there's, you know, like right now, probably 80% probability that it's going to be either Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, right? So why do you run? Well, because running increases your profile, and running could make you a good vice president contender, right? So for instance, with Mike Pence, if it hadn't have been the whole January 6th thing hadn't have happened, okay? If the whole January 6th thing hadn't have happened, then Mike Pence would probably be the front runner right now, assuming that Donald Trump didn't run. Okay, because the vice president often becomes like the front runner in the Republican primary, and or like whoever was the runner up last time around, right? So for instance, somebody that I think that this makes a lot of sense for is Tim Scott. He's doing really well with it, right? Tim Scott's national profile is going to rise considerably because he's running for president. And as long as he doesn't piss off all of the Trump supporters, maybe next time around he is a top contender. You know what I mean? So for DeSantis, I guess if he loses against Donald Trump this time, he wouldn't make a very good candidate next time around. But like if he doesn't run now, I don't think that he would stand as good of a chance 4 years from now, because right now he has the hot hand, you know? Like Ron DeSantis is in a situation where he almost can't not run. Like his supporters and his donors and stuff will force him to do it, you know? That's another thing. So like the volume would be 2 and the ACC can show 8. Well, maybe it is showing the match. I don't know. So one of the things that you got to realize with the matching feeds is that when it shows you when it shows you an order, it's showing you the limit order, not the market order. So if somebody comes in and buys 1,000, you won't see one lot of 1,000 on that times and sells. See, what you'll see is every sublot that was in that just got filled. So some platforms might sometimes show things related to that, like telling you how many orders had actually just been filled all at once. You know, so one thing I would wonder is, like, does that ACC, like, do you tend to see a bunch of orders all in a row that all have the same ACC? That might be telling you something about how they were all triggered by the same market order or something like that. Okay, well now we did move down to a new low. We're forming a liquidity hole. I think that if I had taken this back here, I could maybe take profits at least, but now it's kind of questionable if I should even touch it. I don't know. If we had tried trading this, Uzi, I think that we would probably, you know, there's a good chance that we would have had some periods where we got scared out or something, right? Like, because we went down to 150 initially, right? So there's a possibility that if you had impulsively sold off of the initial move, that you would not be up right now. And especially with the micros, because the micros did not move correctly. But it's garbage from here on out. I'm not going to say garbage, but the timing right now is probably not the best for a trade. So going back, Christie also lashed out at the larger Trump political financial enterprise. The grift from this family is breathtaking. It's breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis. Christie's faulted Trump for having made us smaller by dividing us even further and pitting us one against the other. He said President Biden was guilty of the same divisiveness, was also being out of his depth and not the guy he used to be. In response, Trump is body shaming Christie by calling him fat. Well, I think that Christie is fatter than Donald Trump, but Donald Trump ain't a skinny guy, right? That's a nicer way of saying. Well, when you say it's garbage from here on out, that makes it sound like there's not going to be any good trading opportunities the rest of the day. And I'm saying there might be a trading opportunity 30 minutes from now. Okay, so I think some of this is Zero Hedge's synopsis, so this is an interesting thing. So they ask, what kind of policies would a President Christie give us? As a moderate Republican, it's safe to assume he'd be a reliable servant of the military-industrial complex while giving lip service to fiscal responsibility as he compromises with Democrats to keep the federal government steaming relentlessly to fiscal disaster. So, like, here's the thing. If you ran for president and you said, I think that we should spend less on defense, you're gonna lose, right? Like, you could not win, especially not the Republican nomination, by saying that, right? So if that person that would actually have the ability to do it isn't gonna tell you, right? They're gonna be like, oh yeah, defense is really important. And then once they're in office, then they would be like, yeah, let's cut everything, right? There's still some, I mean, it might trend here. I don't like what I'm being given. All right, well. I'm not a huge fan of that. Even though it does look like we might get a little bit more selling. Nah, I'd still say it's kind of slow though. What's driving us? Well, the 6J is really moving. The dollar is definitely moving here. The dollar has been moving up since the news. So dollar up, Japanese yen down, that could help us. No. Down tick. Deltas aren't telling me much yet. Offers are reasonable though. If a little bit flighty. They can kind of take it bid. S&P 500 taking a dive there. $13 goes offer. Oh, and 12 half pulls. Not a strong offer, but still. We might have been wrong here, Izzy. I think that there might be more to this. I'm not seeing like the clear and persistent sell here per se, but like the correlations all seem to be going in the same direction, and it keeps selling. Like, price keeps declining. And when those bids, when they go through, those bids were pulling, so yeah, I can't just hit ZN at the lows. They have to be looking for a really good as she goes location or an iceberg on the offer. And I kind of got that over in the micros, but you can see it's being a little rough for me. So far, they haven't really been able to attack that 12. 10,000 other people can, but I can't. Yeah, I know. So, if we get to 113.10, that is the low of the week. So, if I don't see some support there, yeah, also the low end of a single, you're right. There's plenty of reasons for them to fight it here. I find this kind of a trend difficult because it is really hard to get in, but then that's like why it never stops and it just keeps going. Okay, there's a big order at 11 all of a sudden. Okay, if you hit it, it's not like just filling, so oh, he folds. 2,000 trades to take it offer. That sounds to me, like given this context, that to me is somebody needs people to buy, you know. Okay. So one of the things is that through most of this area, the stacks, when they ticked, have been relatively healthy. I'm starting to see that less than 200 kind of number a little bit more often now. Okay. There's some iceberging both on the bid and the offer at 11.5. Wonder if both of those guys got filled there or not. Oh yeah, here we come. Oil inventories in 1 minute. Yes, it's tanking because of the Bank of Canada's surprise rate hike. All three of them are kind of toying with that down tick, but then they're not able to hold it. You see that? Okay, here's oil. By the way, the liquidity has increased. Okay. So that last uptick looked like it was... Okay. Didn't stay mid, but I would still say that tick looked significant. They all kind of ticked up there. Even though the 10-year is able to take it off, or the others haven't shifted. 115 goes back down without a fight. They can't keep it offer, but well, it's the same thing on both sides. Maybe we are getting the liquidity hole here. It's kind of starting to act like that. It's definitely not going anywhere. I would say that behavior is not quite what we typically see, though. They may just be following along with the dollar and the Japanese yen. And the Japanese yen sold hard and has just kind of been chilling down here. You see, like when they take an offer, you're not really getting much. You know, they're kind of having to coax them to selling 11. Like even when it pulls and the offer is stronger, they're not hitting it. Because I'm looking at that and I'm like, hey, there's a good spot to go as she goes. No? Yeah, from highs to low. The activity before was really weird, right? But so I think that the treasuries are being a little cautious here because we are at weekly lows, right? So if they bust through this weekly low, which again is at 113.10, sorry, yeah. So we're at 113.11. So like one more stop run, and then you might be in a different situation if they break those lows, right? It remains to be seen if they have the volume to do that, though. Because there's definitely been some back and forth and meeting at the middle, and okay, temporary strong bid there for a second. Probably because, well, actually, I don't know what was with that one. Okay, check Discord. Ooh, that was a strong down tick. Oh, I see now. Oh, I really don't have any clue what that is. And I'm not too familiar with the Tradeovate, like documentation or API or anything like it. So I'm not really sure where I would look to find out. Surely it's documented somewhere, yeah? Is it gonna break here? Oh man, it's so on the edge. They got the volume to go off at 11. It seems like they're kind of waiting for the other instruments, though. With a little bit of a stack at 11. Strong uptick. S&P 500 is going for another leg down here. And the dollar may be kind of pressuring to another breakout. Okay, there was 11 goes off her. You see the volume at 10.5. Come on. Okay. That's a little better. Oh, now that was some stops. That was some stops right there. Wow. Okay, so now we are definitely to new weekly lows. Yes. See, when you see that, it's kind of like, well, gee, why didn't you guys all sell it back up here when it was at like 15? If you're gonna sell like that down here at 10. But it was a lot of volume. Probably going to keep going because they let me out immediately. Damn. This is where having 2 contracts would probably be really useful, right? I suspect that what may happen is they may go for another short stop run and then reverse back to 11.5. Because for like a it busts through the weekly low and then starts a strong trend and goes further, we're already up 5 basis points, right? So if we're going to have like an 8 to 10 basis point increase in rates here, you know, I don't know if this flow is indicative of that per se. I'm a little concerned about they might come back to 11.5. But the way I got filled is an indication that they could continue going. Accumulation. You should well, I don't know. I'm not going to be streaming next week, but maybe tomorrow. I wish you'd come in earlier. Right? So we're messing around with it right when things heated up. Okay, so the 10-year is maybe kind of showing some signs of moderating. The 5-year definitely seems to be showing some pushback a little bit, but the 30-year is still pressured. So I'm seeing this steepener coming in. Is that ice? There is some iceberging in ES a little bit. Look at that, 6,000 at the low. Is that what you're talking about? There's another uptick. The 30-year hasn't upticked yet, but there you go. Maybe the market maker's being nice to me, man. I appreciate it. I wish the market maker was as kind every day. I'm never going to complain about $10 either. $10 is an average win. I certainly could have made more though, right? Because it was like at 372 when I was considering and I was too pussy to do it, right? So that's been my whole day, right? It is so hard, right, Uzi? Oh, you get traumatized. So one of the things, if you have ADHD, is like the amygdala, this kind of spot down here that's kind of responsible for like emotional memory, is much stronger. So basically, if you have ADHD, you're more likely to get PTSD. That's kind of a way to think about it, right? And I think it does affect me. I think every time that I'm thinking about a trade, I'm sitting there going back in my head thinking about times when I got in a trade and a market just ran me over, you know? I can't do the hitting into the highs and yeah. But yeah, because I really like that sort of a thing, right? Well, what do you know? It came back to 11.5. If it's at the low and it's really showing that pressure, I love to hit into that and as she goes. That's probably my favorite thing to do. But I really have to have a strong reason to think that it's going to keep going, you know? Probably if we had taken just after the news, we would have had that strong reason. I mean, the action has proven out to us that, yeah, this is a pretty significant thing. But you're getting more of a reversal now than you've had. It's totally possible for them to retrace some of this. So like one of the things that I'm thinking about right now is like, okay, so the Bank of Canada can surprise, and it's not the end of the world. Does this shift the Federal Reserve? Because I think I'm still leaning to the Federal Reserve will not hike in June. And I think that the Federal Reserve will not hike in June simply because they've been saying this whole time that that's when they're going to pause, and they want to follow through with what they do. So I'll tell you something. There was a new study out by Jean-Philippe and a few others. Jean-Philippe has kind of been previewing this for a while. So I'm really happy that this paper is out, and this is one of those things that I think could really help policymakers in the future. So what is this paper? They did an agent-based framework. So basically they had a couple of different participants, and then they say, here are the rules behind how these participants tend to behave, right? And then you create thousands of them and you run this simulation. Okay, so agent-based simulation. So they did an agent-based simulation of interest rates. And what their simulation showed was that inflation expectations was the most significant factor. In other words, if the Federal Reserve comes out and says, we're going to raise rates, and the market thinks, no, you're not, it's not going to happen, that causes the inflation to happen. Because it's like the when the market starts to expect the inflation, it causes the inflation to happen, right? So this really plays into the whole idea of how much sorry, what is the word that we use? Like does the market believe the Federal Reserve? What's the Federal Reserve's reputation? You know, because some people say that the Federal Reserve's reputation has been harmed. And I think that they're right that if the Fed's reputation gets harmed too much, their ability to combat inflation basically disappears, right? So from that perspective, if they give all of these signals that they want to pause in June and all of that stuff, and then they don't do it, then what would the narrative be coming out of that? It would be that the Fed has lost control of this. It's surprised them once again. You know? So if they were going to hike in June, I think they might say something between now and the next meeting, but well, I'm not going to get in because it's so close to my time, but I'm actually kind of wondering if they won't get another leg. I'm having flashbacks to earlier in the week when it just kept going all session. Remember that? What day was that? No, it was the Friday. It was the Friday, last Friday. Yeah. Where, you know, I was like, oh, maybe it's over. The news is done. It's over with. And then the whole rest of the day after the stream, it just kept going. I'm kind of worried it might do that again. I don't know. I'm feeling good about myself. Like, I think that I got the chemicals from like the small win. But really, it should have made a lot more on that. It's all Jeremax's fault. It's all your fault. You better like figure out what that ACC thing is and make tons of money and then tip me back for helping you figure it out. Okay, wait. Trader 8 support page. Education maybe. Back. The quote board maybe? Click the links below to view videos on using Tradeovate's orders module. Oh, that's for like your orders if you get filled or not. You think it's accumulation? It's the sum of all orders hit at that price. I don't know if that completely makes sense. So number one, how do you know that? Can you find a documentation for us that tells us that? So like, if I see 42.84.50 hit at 22. Oh, no. Okay. And it says 196. Oh, okay. So these are newer orders. So 174 plus 22 is 196. Oh, no, you're right. It is. Okay. Okay, but then explain to me, how does it go from 42.84.75, 189 accumulated, now it's at the next price, and it goes to 174 even though there was only 4 there? Okay, why is my printer going? My wife must have decided to print something. Well, if she printed something and I didn't have to, and I don't know anything about it, that's a really good sign. Because with that freaking HP, it's like anytime anybody wants to print something, you have to troubleshoot it. So I'm like, I'm so effing sick and tired of this. I went down to Office Max. I bought the only brother printer they had. When price goes up from 110 to 115, all counts reset. Oh, wait. So the reason that the counts are different is because one was buy and one was sell, huh? Yeah. Because that one's red and that one's green. Gotcha. So it's basically is showing you a similar thing to what you see here on the Jigsaw DOM. Well, we definitely formed the liquidity hole here. It's been doing this now for what? Almost 30 minutes. I think that going into the European close, we might see a little bit of movement, but I think that I will have to be content with making $10. Size 1, accumulation 1. Oh, because they're going into the offer. Cool. Don't yawn so hard, Seth. We got so disrupted, I wanted to talk about presidential politics. Okay, so just going back to this Chris Christie thing, I think that Chris Christie entering the race could really change the dynamics, but the attack that I see there in his opening speech, I don't think that that's it. I think you're gonna have to be better than that. You really need to say something that like really incenses people. Like you need to attack Trump in a way that like Donald Trump supporters would just absolutely despise you and Donald Trump opponents just absolutely love you. And I don't know if complaining about how he never admits a mistake is it, you know. I don't know. They're looking like they're gonna go for another leg. He can't out Trump Donald, maybe not. So the thing is, you know, the way to say it, like, Teflon Don sort of a thing, like there's no attack that gets him. I think that a large reason why the attacks on Donald Trump tend to deflect off of him is because they don't hit at the heart of why people support him, right? Because the reason that people supported him was because there was a political issue that had been ignored by the establishment for well over a decade. And Donald Trump was the first person to come in and show that he was on their side and that he was going to do everything to fight for them, right? And that he had the skills to win, and that he was going to go all out. Because the way that Republican voters in general feel, especially those guys up in the Rust Belt, okay, is that like Republicans will talk the talk, but then when push comes to shove, they don't actually do the thing, right? And Donald Trump at least tried to do the thing. Maybe he wasn't successful with it and there was opposition, but he at least tried, right? And so it's that kind of like that loyalty, right? So in order to really have an attack against him that's truly effective in that manner, it has to strike at the heart of why he's so popular, right? So a scandal that like he said something off color, or that, you know, he cheated on his wife or whatever, that like that's expected with Donald Trump. That's why it doesn't hurt him, right? But if you got a story that showed that Donald Trump profited at the expense of, you know, working class members, you know, something like that, or he said something disparaging about the working class on a hot mic, that would end him. It's probably never going to happen, but that's what would end him. And at this point, and here's the other thing that I don't think people are realizing, but I think that it's really important. The world changed in 2022. And a lot of people thought that it was like, okay, there was 2016 and 2016 changed the political landscape, and then 2020 came along and we were concerned about a different set of things, but like this kind of only helped the people that were like skeptical of government, right? And then they think that we're still in that regime, but we're not. And the reason why is because of the Ukraine war. So because of the Ukraine war and all of the inflation that we had, now the top concerns for people are inflation. Are their incomes going to continue going up? And the globalism thing is changing because countries have realized that they need to have better internal supply chains and that they can't completely rely on China. They're realizing that like China probably is dead serious about going into Taiwan at some point, right? And so you have to decouple that a little bit. So globalism is waning. It is. In other words, Donald Trump, the main issue that the Donald Trump supporters were pushing was solved. The main issue was solved. It's shifted. So the person, if you want to win the GOP primary, you've got to figure out what's that next thing that the disaffected voters are concerned about and is going to push you over the top. So many are concerned about pathetic little things when you have big issues hitting you in the face. Well, I kind of feel like that what's happening is that they're creating big issues and throwing them in your face to prevent you from going after like the budget and things like that. Like the whole transgender thing is, I think, because to me, if a large number of children, well, I wouldn't say it's a large number of children, but you know, it's like a 1,000% increase and stuff, you know. And a lot of these people are detransitioning and stuff like that. That is an issue worthy of concern, right? But not at the expense of everything else, right? So what you gonna do? Okay, I do got to get going, guys. I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.